Good evening and welcome to the RO Sports Show Rundown. I am Matt Errolson, alongside with me Russell Parker on the other end, Brand Fall here in the middle. Hope you guys had a great week.
Yeah.
So let's do what we do here. Let's jump right into it, guys. And of course, the big news this week is Monday's big game between Clemson and Alabama. Now, you and I, Russell, did some videos Monday night live while the game was going on, just to kind of keep folks, abreast of what was going on. We put some recaps in there. I could notice as the game went on, you were getting angrier and angrier because the final score ended up being Clemson 44, Alabama 16. So, Russell, let's start with you. I know I asked you the other night to say something nice about Clemson. Now that you've had a couple of days to digest this loss for Alabama, what were your takeaways?
Well, yeah, when you asked about how our weeks were, mine was not that great at all, at least in that aspect. But, Clemson just was on another level Monday night. They were all the way up here. Bama was like right here. So, I mean, Clemson came into this game. They wanted to win this game. I think it's more like a revenge thing from last year. They want to redeem themselves because they lost in the first round of the playoffs. They didn't make it very far. It was to Alabama. So, I think those guys had a little bit of payback coming, I guess you could say. But as far as just overall, Clemson just had a stellar season this year, and it just capped it off right there at the end.
So, what about you, Brad? What was your opinion of Monday night's game?
I was stunned. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I know Dabo Swinney said after the game that he wasn't that surprised. He thought they were the better team and could pull away. I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Yeah.
Not that big a game, but it was great. I mean, it was a great atmosphere. Love college football championship.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that, for instance, I picked Clemson, but I wasn't expecting them to beat them as bad as they did. And I agree with you. I don't think many people outside of Clemson Nation right there at the university expected it to happen that way. But we talked all week. We reiterated it on Monday about how evenly matched these two teams were throughout the season, about how they were head and shoulders above the rest of the country. I still believe that. But with this being said, it seemed like it was getting to a point where everybody was saying, well, it's Alabama up here, and then it's Clemson maybe 1B, and then everybody else down there. Is it fair to say that Clemson and Alabama are even now? Is it fair to say Clemson maybe even a little bit above them in the hierarchy of college football?
I think they're completely even right now. I mean, they're both their senior classes are 55-3, I think it is overall.
55-4.
55-4. Both of them have two national championships in the past 4 years. I think they're both even right now. We're going to have a part 5 just to settle that, I think. I think overall you just can't really say one is better than the other. I mean, obviously this year Clemson was better. Last year Alabama was better, and you just go back on that. But right now I think going into 2019 it will be definitely a big show for sure.
So what do you think about that, Brand? Because I know we mentioned it on Monday, but what do you think the odds are of us having Clemson-Bama Part 5 this time next year?
Russell and I were just talking right before the show. We think, clearly they're the two best teams right now, and nobody's close. And we talked on last show or the show before where they have just such depth all the way through the lineup at every position. Yep. I mean, they just reload kind of like Krzyzewski does with Duke basketball.
Yep.
And I think they'll be right there.
And I've seen a lot of big boards for the NFL draft, and they include a lot of Alabama players. They include a lot of Clemson players, as we usually see. Yep. That's becoming the norm now, especially for Alabama. And I would imagine, I know Dexter Lawrence has already come out, a few of other guys on Clemson's defense. But again, like you're saying, Dabo and Saban both just take another 4 or 5 star and just plug them in, and it seems like they never miss a beat.
That's right.
And I think every college football program strives for that kind of depth on your team and that kind of consistency from one guy to the next, to where one guy gets hurt or whatever, transfers, leaves, whatever. There's always one right behind him that's just as good, if not better, sometimes. So that's something you don't see every day. Now let's talk about the game, though, specifically Trevor Lawrence.
Sunshine,
wow.
Yes.
Ronnie Bass.
Absolutely right. True freshman, though. But,
unbelievable.
He took over the job at the very early part of the year, made Kelly Bryant transfer, and, took over the team, and it seems like they haven't really looked back since. But what do you think about this kid? What's his ceiling? Because some people have called him, coming out of high school, a once-in-a-generation type player. But what do you think Trevor Lawrence's ceiling is?
I don't know.
Heisman,
he will be mentioned in the Heisman. Certainly mentioned in the Heisman.
I'm kind of surprised he wasn't this year.
Yeah, for sure next year going forward. And he just, the thing that struck me about it, this is probably it's the second Clemson game I've watched this year, the second full Clemson game. I watched the Notre Dame game, and just the thing that stuns me about him is a year ago he was getting ready to graduate high school, and he just looks like the moment is not too big for him at all. I mean, they were walking off the field at halftime. They were going down the tunnel, and I was sitting there with my buddy watching the game. Buddy's watching the game, and I was just, look how poised he is right now. He's not overly excited. I mean, this is no fluke. I mean, I think this guy's real deal.
Yeah. On the other side for the quarterbacks, Tua, as we mentioned Monday, didn't have a terrible game. Matter of fact, when we looked at the total yards, Alabama was right there with Clemson. But what happened with Tua? How come Alabama was able to, get some yards in, but not actually able to score?
I think it came down. I mean, Tua had 2 interceptions on the night, and I think they just tried running the ball too much in the game as well. I know that's usually the hardcore Alabama idea is to run the ball and throw a big defense up, but Tua just couldn't couldn't make it in the end. There was a lot of big plays that just came up that were not going to work, and personally, I was hoping that they might put Jalen Hurts in just because I knew Hurts got us there. I knew that Tua got us there, but Hurts was still a quarterback they could have used in the arsenal, and I'm really surprised he didn't show up until fourth quarter.
Yeah, he didn't come in until very, very at the very end. Only threw two passes, I believe.
And I think that was kind of like, hey, here's your last couple of shots here.
Yeah. Well, it must have been because, as you said, Tua was in the game for most of it, and again, didn't have a terrible game. I think it was just a matter of I think the term I used Monday was Clemson's defense bended. Whatever they had a bend but don't break mentality, and that's exactly what we saw. Of course, not to be outdone, Travis Etienne, the running back for Clemson, could also have some Heisman hype around him moving forward. He had 3 touchdowns. I think by the time he was done, that was his 23rd, 24th, and 25th touchdown of the season. So, again, just lots of weapons for Clemson, and I would imagine we'll see both of these teams probably in the same spot moving forward. I want to ask your opinion on something I asked Russell the other night.
Okay.
Moving forward, as far as getting back to a national championship, who has the easier path, Bama or Clemson?
All right, I'm going to make all the ACC country. Clemson's got these. I mean, Clemson's going through the ACC.
I said the same thing.
I'm sorry. I mean, that's the SEC is just the daddy of conferences until somebody knocks them off that pedestal.
I can't really think of anybody in the ACC that's really worth noting other than maybe Florida State, but that's just all name alone. I can't really think of anybody else who had a shot. I mean, Pitt made the ACC championship. There's not really
they got demolished
there.
by Carolina.
Well, I would rebuttal and say, well, SEC just got knocked off their pedestal by the ACC.
A little bit.
But I also have to throw out there that it's Clemson in the ACC, and then it seems like it's everybody else. It's very, very top-heavy. Whereas I feel like in the SEC, maybe there's some bias in there when it comes to the votes and all that. But nonetheless, the SEC, I think, is a harder conference to navigate.
Yeah.
So. But anyway, so Clemson is national champs, 44-16 over Alabama on Monday. Of course, I'm sure both of these teams are in the top 5 in recruiting.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be more of the same when we come around next year.
Do you want to make an early prediction on who the other 2 will be in the playoffs?
It won't be Notre Dame.
Well, you say that, but if they go undefeated again, they're going to slide right in. Also want to mention, because we didn't bring this up Monday, with Clemson's win, I won the bowl pick'em.
Wow, congratulations.
Yay, whatever that's worth. I need a trophy. We don't have a trophy here, but...
you can have a little star right there.
Thumbs up. A thumbs up. So, but if it weren't for me picking Clemson to win instead of Alabama, that got me the victory. So, little bragging rights for me.
That's awesome.
Forward. Also moving forward, let's go to the NFL. Of course, they are in their playoffs as well. They had the wild card weekend this past weekend. Now, to me, there was some contrast of games. So let's start with the first one here, Colts versus Texans. And the Colts ended up winning 21-7. But what happened with the Texans? I mean, I thought we thought we'd see Deshaun Watson and a really good offense, and we didn't.
I tell you what, the Colts are – I thought they were pretty good. They were a nice story this year, but I really thought the story would end with the Texans game. I thought Clowney and Watts would just disrupt luck all night long, and I thought Deshaun Watson would run and throw for a lot of yards, and that just wasn't the case, man. The Colts defense harassed him all night, and he never looked comfortable.
Yeah. What about you, Russell? Were you surprised to see a Colts team that it felt like just kind of limped into the playoffs, even though they won 10 games this season?
Yeah, I mean, this is a wild card game, so I think you can kind of throw in, who you think could go in there, and I think you could have picked anybody from this game, but yeah, Colts, they just got it done.
Yeah, Andrew Luck, man, when he's healthy, he's still a stud. So,
yes, he is.
I'm wondering how far the Colts will be able to go. Of course, we're going to talk about their next matchup, but that'd be a great story, I guess, for Andrew Luck to come back from that really injury that kept him out for what feels like 2 years or something.
Yeah, felt like forever.
And be able to move on. So, but let's move on ourselves. Of course, your guys were playing this weekend.
How about them Cowboys?
Seahawks, and ended up winning 24-22. So this one was a little bit closer than the other one. But just looking at the stats here, it seems like it was a lot of Zeke, right?
Feed Zeke. I mean, that's what they did. Prescott made some great throws when necessary, but this game was all about Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
At 26 carries, 137 yards, and it was every bit. It wasn't just 2 to 3 big runs. I mean, he was one big run for about 35 or 40, and everything else was just chunks all night, and he carried them.
26 carries, 137 yards, and a touchdown. But let me ask you about a guy on their team that you know very well, in Amari Cooper. Mm-hmm. He has completely opened up this offense, right? Isn't he giving Zeke the ability to get 26 carries and pick up yards like that?
I think so. I mean, Amari Cooper was one of the best in college football as far as wide receivers. And coming up into the NFL, he did pretty much the same thing. He was down in Atlanta and made a lot of big plays down there.
That was Julio.
Julio Jones. Well, I get confused. There's so many of them. Oakland. There's so many of them out there, Alabama. But, I think Cooper's just stellar receiver overall, and I think Cowboys that was the best decision they made in a while.
Yeah. Do you think that's fair to say? That
I was not on board with that trade when they made it, and not the first one. They traded for him the very first game after they traded for him. They lost to the Titans, and they dropped to 3-5. And I thought they've given up their number 1 pick, and now they're not going to make the playoffs anyway.
Yeah.
And they're starting the next week. By the time he had a week to learn the offense, he's just been the difference maker for them.
Yes, he has. Speaking of difference makers, let's move on to our next game, which was the LA Chargers going against the Ravens. Now, the Chargers 12-4 had the better record, but because the Chiefs are there, had to go to Baltimore. And when I talk about guys making a difference in the game, how about our man Melvin
Ingram, man. Awesome. Raider Nation.
Yeah. What do you have? 5 or 6 tackles, a couple sacks. And ended up being on top of the ball at the end when they stripped it from him. I don't know if you guys saw this. I think he tried to throw the ball after the game was over. Tried to throw it to a Chargers fan that was in the stands. Completely missed him. The ball went down the tunnel. So, Melvin, stick to your day job of playing linebacker and edge, but don't go to quarterback. Just keep Phillip Rivers back there. But talk about the Chargers, because personally, I got to throw this out there. I've thrown it out there before. I picked them to get to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season because I knew they were going to have a really good defense. You never count Phillip Rivers out. Seems like he always has a good year. He actually had some healthy weapons that stayed healthy, and Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, those kind of guys. Mm-hmm. So moving forward, I know it kind of seems like the Ravens stalled out until Lamar Jackson kind of turned it on there at the end.
Yep.
And now that I've described everything, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I am just thrilled with the Chargers.
Yeah.
Of course, I want the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
If they don't win it, my second pick, who I would love to see win it, would be the Chargers for the Melvin Ingram factor. And Phillip Rivers is just one of the all-time likable guys in the NFL. Antonio Gates, great story. He retired and come back. I mean, he didn't have great numbers this year, but he's had such fun taking a reduced role because they've got all those receiver weapons and they can run the ball. I mean, this may be the most balanced team Rivers has ever played on.
Yeah. Yeah, Melvin Gordon being in the backfield really helps take some pressure off. And looking at the stats here, the way ESPN lines it up is it shows your top performers for that game. Mm-hmm. Now, Lamar Jackson's name's on here, which means he actually had more passing yards than Phillip Rivers did. And the score ended up being 23-17, but it was never really that close till the very, very end. But it just goes to show you that even though Phillip Rivers himself didn't have a great game, the Chargers were still able to win because of that defense. So what do you think, Russell?
Yeah, I mean, I still have holding to the belief that defense wins championships, and they keep it on. They're going to go ahead and they're playing. Who they playing next? Is Pats?
They will be going up against the Patriots.
Yeah,
in New England.
They may be able to hold their own against Tom Brady with that defense.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. And then finally, the last game from Wild Card Weekend, and it was indeed wild the way it ended. Philadelphia Eagles won 16-15. First of all, I'm sure Sierra's very happy. I didn't make any bets this week on that. But beat a 12-4 Chicago Bears team who was really good, especially on defense after bringing Khalil Mack over. Yeah. However, The Bears had a chance to win the game, and their kicker Parkey hits 2 crossbar, hits the right upright, and then the crossbar.
Yeah.
First of all, the odds of that are astronomical. But what's it feel to be a Bears fan?
My gosh, that was horrible. I was watching. I hate the Eagles, so I was a little biased watching this game. Plus, I like Trubisky.
Yeah.
And I was like, when he made the kick, when Peterson called the timeout to ice him.
Yeah.
I say, well, that gives him his warm-up kick. He'll nail the next one. And then I was just shocked when he missed it. And Nick Foles just finds a way to get it done. It's unbelievable. I mean, they'll have to pay $20 million to tag him next year and keep him as a backup quarterback. So I don't know if they'll do that, but, man, they're going to look foolish if they let him go.
Yeah, I'm going to write that down because I'm going to ask you about Foles here in just a minute.
Okay.
But, I mean, it really stinks for that kicker, especially after losing it that way. And then right after the game, he had to go and stand in front of his locker and answer questions. When situations like that arise, I say to myself, all right, this guy's – because it happens with kickers. I say this guy's either going to be Steve Bartman or he's going to be drinking for free all night.
That's right.
And he turned out he's more Steve Bartman than drinking for free. So
can you really put all the blame on the kicker for that game the way it ended? Because – yeah, he missed it, but what about all the other opportunities the offense?
The defense absolutely couldn't stop Philadelphia on their last drive. I mean, they could not get Foles off the field.
Yeah.
And so, but you got to make that kick.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that there are other things that lead up to that, but in that moment, you got to make that kick. That's your job. That's the one job that you have to do. Come to find out, before that kick, he had hit the uprights 5 different times this season. The odds of that.
I know.
I'm not sure what they are exactly, but they have to be high, right?
Yeah,
it's almost like he's aiming for the thing.
I know. I mean, maybe they should tell him to aim for the upright.
Yeah.
And then maybe he'll right down the middle.
Yeah, it's like me, us playing disc golf, or me anyway. I have to aim for a tree so I don't hit the tree. Yeah. So before we talk about Foles, Mitch Trubisky on the other side had 26 of 43, 303 yards and a touchdown. He's really, really grown this year from last year. The Bears, 12-4. They've got a really good defense, a young quarterback who's on a rookie contract, which means now is the time to start building around him.
That's right. While you still can afford it. That's right.
How far can the Bears make it? I mean, this was, to me, 12-4 surprised me.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really saw 12-4, and I don't. Trubisky got criticized a lot last year, mainly because he was the number 1 pick. Came out of Carolina where they only started like 12 career games. And so everybody said he wasn't ready, and he had some growing pains. But he really had a great year. Had a good game. He had a beautiful final drive for the win the other night, except they missed a kick. So I think, as Michael Jordan would say, the ceiling is the roof for this team. So I mean, I think they can. I really think they can make some noise next year. 12-4. No, of course, the difference is next year they're not going to sneak up on anybody.
Right.
But Khalil Mack on one side and Trubisky on the other side, they're formidable, I think.
And, of course, the Chicago Bears next year will still have to deal with Aaron Rodgers in the Green Bay. They're not going anywhere. And then you're going to have to deal with the Vikings and Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Now, Kirk Cousins brings me up to the next thing here, and I'm going to compare him to Nick Foles in that the Redskins went through the same thing the Eagles are about to with Kirk Cousins, where he was our backup to RG3, then he gets the starting job, then he keeps it, then we just keep throwing money at him, and finally we lose him. What do you think the Eagles are going to do? You think they maybe go ahead and trade Foles now while his value is the highest? Do they perhaps try to pay him to be a $20 million backup? Or, let me throw this out there, do they maybe take Foles and bench Wentz?
My opinion, I'm trading Wentz.
Okay, yeah.
Wentz is, and I'm the only one in the world that'll feel like this, but how can you keep taking the job back from a guy who's led you to the Super Bowl once, and they were dead in the water as far as playoff talks on this show a month ago.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about they just knocked off the Bears and got a chance to knock off a Saints team who is not unbeatable.
Right.
And if he does it again, and I hope he doesn't, but if he does, I mean, there's got to be some logic for keeping him around. I know you can't franchise, especially if you keep Wentz, you can't give him $20 million for a backup.
Right.
You got to figure out something on a long-term deal.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the answer is. But I'm see how you get rid of Foles.
It's going to be a tough decision for them to have to make. What do you think, Russell? What's the path for him?
I think they should keep Foles. I think honestly he's been playing a lot better than I see the other guy. I can't even think of his name because he's not. He's a starter, but who is he? Because it's all been Nick Foles this whole time.
Well,
so
when Carson Wentz plays, he has really good numbers. It's not like he's a scrub or anything.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback,
and he's still young. Now he's been injury prone, so you wonder what you're going to get with that.
Yeah.
But I think if they're in a situation where they've got two good quarterbacks, and I agree with you 100%. How do you take the job from somebody who took it over, won a Super Bowl for you? And then you say, all right, now we're kicking you off because Tom Brady did the same thing, and now here we are 20 years later, and he's still playing in the playoffs. So.
Yep, that's right.
Anyway,
at 102.
Yeah. Speaking of the playoffs, let's move forward to next week's matchups. Now that we know who those are going to be, and the first one is going to be that Colts team going to Kansas City to take on the number 1 seed Chiefs. So, what do you think is going to happen?
I think the Chiefs are going to cakewalk this one.
Wow.
Okay.
I like that.
I think they've been really hot all season long, and they're also the number 1 seed for a reason. No disrespect to Andrew Luck and the Colts, but the Chiefs just been on their level this season.
All right, Kansas City, a 5.5-point favorite. Who are you taking?
Well, with Andy Reid's playoff history, I might regret this, but I'm going with him.
Okay.
He might make me regret it, but I mean, surely to goodness, this is the team that can get it done for him. Yeah, he was 10-9 in the playoffs in Philly. He's been awful with the playoffs. With the Chiefs have been awful in his tenure in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Great regular season, but I really just think they're more talented than the Colts, and they'll find a way to get it done.
I agree. I think the Chiefs will win. I think this one will be closer than 5.5, though. I wondered if them losing Kareem Hunt a few weeks ago was going to impact them. It doesn't seem like it's hurt them too bad. But the Colts have a sneakily good defense this year. And I think, Mahomes is a load to stop, but I think the Colts could potentially at least slow him down. But in the long run, I think the Kansas City Chiefs will move on and play for the AFC Championship. But at this point, everybody's there for a reason. We could see any of these turn on a dime. Let's talk about your guys. The Cowboys heading out to L.A. to take on the Rams, and the Rams are a touchdown favorite, 7 points. So who are you taking? Going with your head or your heart?
Cowboys in a blowout. Let's just go big or go home.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to go the opposite of that and go with the Rams here.
I really think the Cowboys can beat the Rams. I don't know if I want to take the Cowboys or not, but I think once they brought in, we talked about it earlier, once they brought in Amari Cooper, that just changed their offense dynamically to where it opened up Ezekiel Elliott to be able to run. It opened up Cooper to drag a guy to his side to where now you've got the guys underneath that can catch passes for you.
Beasley's gotten much better since
Beasley's one of those.
Cooper got there for sure.
I don't know. I actually want to take the Cowboys with my head, but at the same time, it's in LA, and the Rams have just as many weapons as
I tell you what, Gurley
do.
and Goff and their receiver, Watkins or Watson?
Sammy Watkins.
No, the Robert.
Robert Woods.
Woods, that's his name.
Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, they're loaded, and Sammy Watkins is coming back. This week. So logically the Rams are better. I was kidding a little bit when I said blowout, but really, if the Cowboys defensive line can get to Goff, they can. I think Dallas' biggest weakness is their secondary. I know Byron Jones had a Pro Bowl year and got let to Pro Bowl, but I think if Dallas can get pressure, they really will have a legitimate shot to win this game.
Yeah, and I think that pressure will be the reason why the Rams. I think that'll be the difference maker. Aaron Donald on that defense. Will Dallas's offensive line be able to keep him from getting to Dak and putting him on his butt? So, did I ask you who you're taking on this one?
Yeah, I've got the Rams.
Got the Rams. Okay. Moving forward, Chargers-Patriots. And I think this is the best matchup, personally, out of all of them. That's just my opinion. But the Chargers coming into New England to take on the New England Patriots, who are a 4-point favorite. So this one's the tightest out of all the matchups. And we just saw what the Chargers can do on defense. So what do you think, Russell? Is Tom Brady's time over?
No, I don't think it's going to be his time. I don't think it's over with yet. He's going to win this game. Patriots going to win this game rather, but I think it's going to be all about him versus that defense Charger has. And I think Tom's going to figure it out and get through it.
All right. What do you think?
I'm going with the Chargers. That might be more heart than head, but I really think, like I said a while ago, I think the Chargers are more balanced than they've ever been. I know it's in New England, But I hope I think the evil empire goes down this weekend.
Look, it's evil. It's evil. It's easy to hedge your bets and always take the Patriots because they've got the experience. They've obviously been there, and even if you're wrong, nobody's going to hold it against
That's right.
you. But this Patriots team was 11-5 this year, and hats off to Tom Brady because this has to be one of, if not the worst team he's ever had.
That's one of his best years he's had, considering what he had around him.
And to win 11 games with, I mean, most people can't name many guys on the New England Patriots outside of him and Gronk. But I think their time runs out this week. Now, some of that has to do with the fact that I picked the Chargers to get to the Super Bowl, 4 months ago, 5 months ago. But the Chargers are a really good team, too. I mean, it's not like they shouldn't be here. So I'm going to take Phillip Rivers and Melvin on that defense and have the Patriots to time running out here this year. Speaking of that, before we move on, Tom Brady, the man's 41 years old, still had 31 touchdowns and 11 picks this year. Pretty much the same that Phillip Rivers did. But Phillip Rivers is my age, so he's 36, 37, somewhere in there. But Tom's over 40. When's the man going to run out of gas?
He said last offseason he wanted to play into his mid-40s, and I laughed when I read it.
Yeah.
But I'm not laughing now. He's 41 and he's playing at MVP level because, I mean, like you said, who else do we know on the Patriots?
Yeah.
Except Gronkowski, who did not have a great year.
No, he did not.
And you got Edelman, who's – but I just think he just keeps carrying mediocre teams. And until somebody shows that he can't play, the Patriots obviously believe he can. They got rid of Garoppolo for him.
Yeah, that one really surprised me too. What do you think, Russell? Time's up for him, or should he keep playing?
He's going to keep playing until his legs give out, I think.
That's what it seems like, which may never be. I think he's part robot or something.
He must be.
And then the final matchup for this weekend for the NFL is going to be the Eagles taking on the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Saints are 8-point favorites in this game. Now, I don't know that that's fair. We could see that maybe come down a little bit as we approach the game once people start betting on it more. But the Eagles seem to be, no pun intended, but flying high right now. But this is a really good Saints team. What do you expect to see?
I am going to go with the upset here, and I'm picking the Eagles.
Okay.
I think they are playing as well as anybody in football since Foles took over the job. And I hate to say it because I really, really hope we're sitting here next week and I found out I was wrong. But I think the Eagles win.
All right.
I agree. I think this is going to be the upset for all of these games.
Well, I guess I'm going to take the Saints. I don't want to see the Eagles win. Look, the Saints, Drew Brees is, another one of these older quarterbacks.
Marvel.
Yeah. Really good. Alvin Kamara, the running back's really good. Michael Thomas. I mean, it seems like whoever you put in that offense, Drew Brees makes them better. So they kind of go as he goes. But what we've also seen from the Saints from a few years ago is their defense has gotten really, really better over the years, a little bit at a time. And I think that could perhaps be the difference maker here is
hope you're right.
The Eagles will be able to score a little bit. The Saints will be able to score a little bit. But I think the Saints will be able to stop the Eagles more than the Eagles will be able to stop
I hope you're right because, this is probably one of the better defenses Peyton's ever had.
Yeah.
He's won a lot of ball games where he just outscored everybody, and this team can stop people.
Yeah. And the over-under for this is 50. So they're basically expecting it to, the Saints to score almost 30 points. And I guess 30-10 Saints. That's what I'm going with.
All right. Cool.
Actually, that's not right. 30-20. I'm terrible at math. Anyway, so this is going to do it for the divisional round. Of course, we'll come back next week, let everybody know who's going to be playing for the AFC and NFC championships, and then ultimately the Super Bowl. We're already back to the Super Bowl.
Yay.
Which, Russell, you may remember, our first show that we did for RO Sports was the game right before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was.
So I guess not next week, but the week after that will be our 1 year anniversary, if you will.
Cool.
So, yeah. Very, very cool. Let's move forward, though. Let's talk NBA here for just a second. Now, we've talked about how really, really good the Warriors are, and they've been a little bit down this year. They're 27-14.
Yeah, that's awful.
That's actually really good.
That's awful.
But for them, it seems like they're down. But DeMarcus Cousins is going to be joining the team probably mid to late January. They're saying January 18th, somewhere around there. But do you think this is going to be the piece that just sends the Warriors on one of those winning streaks where they just completely take over the West?
Well, I think this is a good time to get him back because I personally believe you don't want to get somebody back in April when you're trying to figure out your chemistry going into the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And but you get him back in January. Steve Kerr's a smart coach, and he'll figure out what rotations work. And I think it might not be immediate, by about mid-March, I think you're going to see the Warriors rolling.
Absolutely. What about you, Russell? What do you think? I mean, this team's already stacked with Durant, Seth Curry, who else? Draymond Green, Klay Thompson. So they're just adding another All-Star. I mean, what is the season over once Cousin comes in?
2019 champions.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. And even playing what seems like to be having a down season, the Warriors are only 2 games behind the Nuggets. Nuggets have lost 12. The Warriors have lost 14. So I think once you get Cousins in, get him rotating, learning the system and all that, and actually get out there and get some reps, it's going to be lights out for anybody playing.
That's a tough lineup to deal with. I mean, who do you defend?
Yeah, I don't know. You can't double team anybody,
That's right.
and that's the problem.
That's right.
All right, so let's talk some college basketball. And there was a pretty big game last night, or Tuesday night rather, on Tobacco Road. Actually, let me say this. All 4 Tobacco Road teams played Tuesday, which I think was really cool.
That is cool.
Now, Duke blew out Wake Forest.
Which we knew would happen.
Not a surprise there. I think Zion had 30 points or something.
Yeah,
the guys
and 8 million assists and rebounds. I mean, he was just unbelievable.
And
4
dunks.
steals. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he was all over the place, as we expected. But on the other side of Tobacco Road, the Tar Heels headed up to Raleigh to take on NC State. UNC coming in at number 12 in the nation. NC State at 15. And the Tar Heels able to pick up the victory in their first ACC game of the season, 90-82. So did you guys get a chance to check this one out or see the stats?
Watched the whole game, actually.
I was in and out of it. I was kind of switching between that and SmackDown. And, I think
we encompass all sports.
That's right.
I think UNC pretty much led the entire game. I can't remember a time that NC State ever led it, but they kept getting close to it. They just couldn't capitalize. And
there were some runs in there.
Mm-hmm.
But UNC played a great game. But I mean, it was only an 8-point difference, wasn't it? So it was.
Yeah, it was 8 points, and UNC jumped out like 21-4 or something to begin with. But I mean, it's basketball. You always see runs like that, and just before you knew it, NC State was right back in it, and it was close, but it was supposed to be close.
Yes.
I mean, NC State's supposed to be.
NC State's good this year, man. I'm telling you what, Kevin Keats has done a very good job. Was he at Wilmington right before he went to State? Was that his last job before State, or was there something in between?
No, he went from Wilmington to State.
Okay, so I mean, he has done a remarkable job over in the short time there, and they played with a lot of toughness. They actually tied that game a couple of times in the second half, and one time I remember they had the ball down 1 with the ball and missed a shot. So he had them right there.
Yeah.
And Carolina. We talk about State stuff. Carolina showed a lot of toughness because I think earlier in the year, Carolina loses this game.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
They showed a lot of toughness last night when State came back and punched them in the mouth.
Like when they played Kentucky.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
And I figured you want to throw out there that Alabama beat
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
I was trying to figure out I'm trying to remember what the score was on that, but yeah.
They play basketball in the SEC?
They do.
Apparently,
somehow
they do.
I know Tennessee is the leader of that right now, but SEC does play some basketball.
Yeah, Tennessee's playing really well.
Yeah, they are.
Luke Mabe had 21 points and 11 rebounds. Cam Johnson, 15 points and 11 rebounds, which leads me to believe Carolina does what Carolina does, and they just out-rebound you.
They beat them to death on the boards, on the offensive boards. I tell you what, Kobe White, he is a stud.
Yeah, he had 19 points.
And the thing about him is he is not scared of the big shot. At the end of the game, when State made their little run and got back, Kobe White was down there handling the ball and wanted the ball in his hands. And I hope he stays 4 years. He won't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some projections already have him at 18.
Yeah. Coming into the season, everybody was talking about Nasir Little being the freshman to watch for Carolina. Yeah. But I don't know. It might end up being White, and
he's a player.
He may be gone. They both may be gone after this year. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But as far as the Tar Heels, they've got 2 more matchups coming up in the ACC before we'll reconvene here for the rundown. Louisville is going to head to Chapel Hill on Saturday at noon, and then Notre Dame's going to come to town on Tuesday night. So that should be 2 more victories that Carolina could pick up in the ACC, especially at home. It's the ACC. They beat up on one another.
That's right. They started well. Didn't they play at Pitt?
Yeah.
So they've had 2 road wins.
Oh, you're right. They did already have an ACC win.
They've got 2 road wins to start their ACC schedule. I mean, that is impressive. I mean, any road win in ACC is a good win, in my opinion.
That's pretty strong there. So, all right, guys. Well, let's move forward and let's do our big impacts first. Of course, our big impacts of the week brought to you by Richmond Community College, whose motto is "Local College, Big Impact." So, Russell, you want to go first?
Yeah, so mine is a guy named Sean Muth. I think I said it right. Now, this isn't an athlete or anything, but he does play golf, and he was playing at TPC Sawgrass down in Florida. and they got on the island hole at number 17. And he made his putt, and then he told his girlfriend to go and get the ball out of the hole for him. When she picked it up, it said, "Will you marry me?" So that's my big impact, that she ended up saying yes. So I think that was a really awesome thing.
I feel like I was supposed to go, oh.
What if he had choked on the putt? That would have been a crappy story.
What if it was like Caddyshack and a gopher just came out?
That's right, and took the ball.
Or if it was the wrong ball.
That's right.
All right, what about you, Brandon? You got for a big impact this week?
Joseph Nicholson, junior wrestler with the Richmond Raiders, the fastest to 100 wins. Congratulations. He comes from a great family.
Yeah.
His dad's a great coach, and that's awesome to see.
I was going to say, if anybody should know wrestling, it's a Nicholson.
That's right.
Yeah, Joseph fighting in the 113-pound weight class, but 100 wins. He's
impressive.
Would you say he was a junior?
Junior, yeah. That's impressive.
Sky's the limit for him. And, John and I were talking about this on Good Morning Sandhills. Some people don't realize there are really good opportunities in college to further your education and do it for free via wrestling.
Oh, I'm sure. Because it's not. Yeah, everybody plays football,
right?
And you only got so many scholarships.
Yeah.
I'm sure the wrestling scholarships are there to be had.
Absolutely. And like I said, some of those schools, like in the Midwest, your Nebraskas, your Iowas, teams like that, they have really good wrestling programs, and if you're good enough,
and put guys in the Olympics all the time, the time.
Minnesota, that's where Brock Lesnar went.
That's right. And who knows, you could be on WWE.
Yeah, why not? They make good money too.
That's right. Yes, they do.
My big impact for this week is going out to the entire Lady Raiders varsity basketball team, who scored a season-high 58 points on Tuesday against Hope County here at home. So they got their second victory in a row. And again, that was a season high. That improves Richmond to 7-6 overall. They're now second alone in the SAC. So congratulations to them.
So when a coach interviews with you, he does well the following week. Hint, hint.
Keep that in mind. Yeah. Yeah, they're 3-1 now in the SAC. Of course, now their next matchup is Pinecrest, who's 13-1.
Yeah, that'll be a tough
and 4-0 in conference. So they're going to have to gear up for that one. But nonetheless, congratulations to the Lady Raiders and everybody else for the big impacts this week. Now, another congratulations are in order, and that is for our official Richmond County Athletes of the Week. So let's start with the female. That is going to be Jayla McDougal, who is a sophomore on the Richmond Senior High School girls basketball team. So, of course, you can find all this on the Richmond Observer and on the Richmond Observer's Facebook page. And what am I leaving out? The app.
RO app.
The app,
free.
Yeah. It is free. So she is a sophomore point guard for the basketball team. And I'll just read some of this. Emerging onto the scene in her first full season as a varsity Lady Raider, McDougal's been one of Richmond's most consistent shooters through the halfway point of the season. Joining head coach Teddy Mosley during his first season at the helm, McDougal impressed in both games last week, notching double digits twice. So this is her first career female athlete of the week. So congratulations to her.
Congratulations.
And then the guy you were just talking about is our male athlete of the week, Joseph Nicholson, again a junior in his third year on the Raider wrestling team. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, the Raider wrestling team 29-26 on the season. So congratulations to both Joseph and Jayla on
congratulations to the Raiders.
Absolutely. Moving forward, love it or hate it. Let's end like we always do. Let's start with you, Russell. Jalen Hurts entering the transfer portal. Love it or hate it?
I'm going to say love it for this reason. He is going to go out and play another year of football potentially, and I think that's great for him. He graduated at Alabama. He's going to go on and do some great things. I know you and I were chatting about where he could possibly go to. You mentioned UNC, and I'll say this: if he went to UNC, I'll be a UNC fan for 1 year.
Okay.
Hey, I'll say this: if he goes to UNC contends for their division next year.
Absolutely, very well could. But what do you think? Do you love the fact that he's transferring?
I love it. You asked on this show last week what we thought he would do, and he was saying all the right things at the time, which shows what a class act he is, and he kept the focus off himself and on the team leading into that big game Monday night. But I love it for him. He can step right. He doesn't have to wait a year because he's already graduated, so he can step right in and play. Good for him.
I agree. I think that personally, I'm surprised he didn't transfer earlier. But like you said, he was doing the right thing, saying the right things, was kind of the bigger man, kind of thing. But I threw UNC out there. Honestly, I don't think he'll end up transferring there.
No.
Another team I threw out was Florida.
Mm-hmm. That could happen.
And I don't know why. I know they've got a quarterback already there in Felipe Franks. But Jalen, when you can bring a kid like that in, even for 1 year, I think in Florida, to me, is one of those teams. It's in the SEC, but it's in the East, so they would, wouldn't have to deal with the West so much. And you'd already have a good team around you. So.
But on the other hand, for Jalen, would he want to go there but with only potential playing time? If he's already got a quarterback there to compete with, he may not want to do that. He may want to go somewhere he's guaranteed to start.
I'm not so sure he'd have to compete, though.
I mean, he might have to compete with Elliott at UNC if he went there.
No, I don't think so. No, he definitely wouldn't have to compete in Chapel Hill. But
he would have much worse team around him. It's all about what's more important to him: is playing or winning.
Yeah,
and maybe both.
I mean, you could think of Tennessee would probably try to get him to come there.
No.
I mean, you could name a dozen teams.
Easily a dozen teams that would want him.
Yeah,
it's just. What's the best situation for him?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I guess we'll have to wait and see. So keep it with college football. So FBF coaches say that they are in support of splitting the targeting rule into 2 tiers, 2 categories. So it'd be targeting 1 and targeting 2.
Okay.
Targeting 1, basically they'd have to, this is going to be tough, they'd have to determine whether there was malice in a head-to-head hit, like a crown-to-crown hit. If they decide that it's targeting 1, that's a 15-yard penalty. If it's targeting 2, that's what it's been, where you're automatically ejected. So the coaches say they're for splitting this targeting rule. So love it or hate it, Russell.
I think I'm going to say love it if they can determine that the player did not have any intentions of actually doing that, on purpose. The thing is, that's going to be another judgment call, and it's just going to make things even more complicated for that penalty, anyways. So. The referees are going to have a lot on their hand if they make this happen.
Yeah. What do you think?
Hate it. I just don't. I don't think. I mean, I'm just flying off the cuff here. It's the first I've heard it is when I haven't not heard that. I just think the officials are going to struggle with determining intent here. And at the end of the day, whether you meant to or not, you got him head to head.
I'm going to go the other way with it. I'm going to say that I love it because I know, especially in this day and age of instant replay, when you slow these plays down, I think sometimes you can differentiate between someone who was trying to lead with their helmet and a guy who was just trying to tackle another guy, because they've gotten so specific on where you can actually tackle somebody now. The box is like this. Yeah. And anywhere above it, you get a penalty. Anywhere below it, you get a penalty. I hate seeing guys that will tackle another guy after he catches it and then ducks down, which is what they teach them to do, so that you do.
So you can draw that penalty.
And a kid will get kicked out of a game for it. That part of it, I don't think is fair. As long as you can, determine that the guy was just coming in to try to make the tackle and he accidentally went helmet to helmet, I think you can differentiate between the two once they're able to take a look at it. Now, maybe they of course they throw the flag and then they have an opportunity to look at it in the booth or whatever it may be.
That's kind of what I do now, anyways. And then when they throw it, they will reveal it immediately.
Yeah, except now they're just saying, was it helmet to helmet or was it not? If it wasn't, he can go back in. If not, he's out. Now it'll just be a situation where they'll say, well, it was helmet to helmet, and then they'll say, well, did he do it on purpose? And I don't know. I think it'll be worth testing out at least, because I hate seeing some of these guys for no reason get kicked out of games. You're not going to like this one. Alabama radio station accidentally aired a commercial for national championship gear after Alabama's loss.
Was it? It wasn't titled 102.9, was it?
I don't know what
it was. Well, I mean, that's for next year. That's what it is. It's for the 2019-2020 season.
Okay.
Go ahead and get a head start on that.
I love it. I bet you can get it cheap.
Yeah, I love it too. It obviously is a mistake, but
did you go and look for that one?
It popped up on my Google timeline.
Were you the guy who rode by me today and yelled out "Go Tigers" heading into Henson Lake?
No, that was
somebody did that today, and I want to find that guy.
That's because you have that Alabama flag.
It's not going down.
Moving forward.
Was it you?
Okay. I was kidding.
ESPN has apologized for using Dixie, the song Dixie, in an Andrew Luck graphic that was used during the Colts-Texas playoff game. So I don't know if you guys realize this. There is a Twitter page called Dixie Andrew Luck or Andrew Luck Civil War or something like that. And it's this page that somebody started of Andrew Luck it's hard to describe his character as a Civil War character, and it's really, really popular. And so ESPN tried to play off of that and made a graphic. You know, they make those little graphics show stuff during games, and they used the Dixie term, that one there, which I don't care if anybody hears me say it. But ESPN ended up apologizing for that, so love it or hate it.
I mean, I think it's kind of I'm gonna say love just because I think it was kind of a funny thing to happen, but mistakes on them.
I hate it. Don't apologize. Man, come on. Everyone, quit looking for. If that offends you, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I mean, you're looking to be offended.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Before you apologize,
come on. Just have a little. Everybody needs to lighten up a little bit.
I agree 100%. I don't think that everybody should have to apologize and cater to everybody for everything.
Yep.
Like, who cares? There's more important things to be worried about. Of course, here we are talking about it.
Yep.
Anyway, moving forward. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are expected to restructure Big Ben's deal, Ben Roethlisberger's deal. So, love it or hate it.
What are they doing? Are they making it longer?
They're going to make it longer and have him take less money in the short term to perhaps maybe try to keep Antonio Brown. I'm not really sure what they're going to do with that extra money.
If the result is to keep Antonio Brown, I love it because Antonio Brown, I know we talked about him on the show last week, and he's got issues, but he still gives the Steelers the best chance to win now.
Okay.
I'm going to say love it.
I'm going to say love it too, although Big Ben, I've said it before, is one of those quarterbacks that's starting to get up there, just like Phillip Rivers and Eli and Tom Brady. But he's still a good quarterback. The thing I wonder is perhaps Juju Smith-Schuster can replace Antonio Brown if they lose him, but in 2 consecutive years, you will have now lost your number one running back and your number one receiver. At what point does Big Ben's like, you know what, I'm good, I'm going to retire.
Just give my money.
Or that, say, pay me, sorry.
Me.
Because, I mean, everybody else is being a prima donna. I mean, I can see where it'd be hard for him to be like, well, how come everybody else is getting paid and you're asking me to take less money?
Now, if it's all guaranteed, he comes out ahead because if he doesn't play the full contract out, he'll end up getting paid when he retires.
I was going to say, but Big Ben, I imagine he'll get paid. They'll make him a consultant or something.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's done a lot for that organization.
Absolutely.
I hate the Steelers, but he's been the franchise.
All right, one more for never mind. I was gonna say one more for football, but I've actually got one more after that. But Arizona, the Arizona Wildcats, Coach Kevin Sumlin hired DeMarco Murray as an assistant. So former running back, former Cowboy running back too. DeMarco Murray, though, going to be an assistant under Kevin Sumlin. Love it, right?
Love it, man. He was a great running back for a brief window there. I mean, the pounding he took for that 2 or 3 years that he was running the ball so much affected his career. But he was a great, more straight up and down runner.
Yeah.
But I like this style, and I think he'll be a good coach.
All right.
Once they love it, if you can get somebody with experience like that, you're gonna be set.
Yeah, experience at the NFL level.
Yeah.
Successful experience too. Matter of fact, wasn't there a year or two where he led the league in rushing?
He was a rushing title one year in Dallas for sure.
That's what I thought. I definitely remember drafting him.
Had like 1,800 yards one year.
Yeah. That's right. He was there right before Zeke was with that really, really good offensive line that y'all just rebuilt.
That was what put Dallas's line onto the national scene and made everybody know how good they were. Was the year he ran for 1,800 yards.
So he's going to head out to Arizona to be their assistant. I love it too. Experience and Khalil Tate, who is Arizona's running quarterback, but he's a running quarterback. Perhaps DeMarco can give him some pointers as well. Now, let me see how I can tie this in. Arizona hires DeMarco Murray to coach under Kevin Sumlin.
Okay.
You know who else coached under Kevin Sumlin? In Texas A&M would be Cliff Kingsbury. That's how I'm transitioning. So Cliff Kingsbury got fired from Texas Tech, signed on with USC to be their offensive coordinator on December 5th, and then this week leaves to take a 4-year job for the Arizona Cardinals as their head coach. Am I breaking this to y'all?
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had left USC already.
Yeah, left USC. Love it or hate it.
I'm kind of gonna say hate it. I don't really like the leaving like that. I don't know.
Right.
He was a coordinator and took the head coaching job.
Yep.
I hate it. I don't think it's a good hire personally for them, but it teaches on, I guess.
So Cliff Kingsbury was 35 and 40, something like that at Texas Tech.
Well, he wasn't very successful.
Was probably better off as an offensive coordinator because any offense he's coached has been dynamic.
And less pressure for sure.
Yeah. And so when he decided to take the job as USC's offensive coordinator, I said to myself, that's a perfect fit. He'll fit that. Some people already say it looks like Ryan Gosling, so he'll fit that Hollywood type atmosphere that's out there in LA. And then perhaps maybe if he does well there, he could try for another head coaching job later on.
That's real quick.
But then a month later, an NFL team, matter of fact, 2 NFL teams came calling. The Jets were looking at him as well and had offered him money. So we're now looking at a situation where a month ago.
How old is he, by the way?
A month ago, gosh, he's probably 40. I mean, he's young for coaches. But a month ago, this guy got fired from a Texas Tech university, and now all of a sudden he's got 2 NFL teams fighting over him. The thought of it's so weird to me.
And Arizona's where he's going.
Yeah, he's going to be the Cardinals' new head coach. And see, they fired Steve Wilks after 1 year.
I was going to say that was the worst fire I've ever seen. I mean, come on, you got to give a guy a chance. I mean, Steve Wilks is a great defensive coach. I mean, the Panthers' defenses were awesome under him. Okay, if you want to go that route, keep Steve Wilks and bring Kingsbury on as your offensive coordinator at the pro level.
Yeah.
And let him prove himself a little bit.
I agree.
I don't think that's a good hire at all. Firing Steve Wilks that quick and then turn around hiring somebody that unproven.
Yeah, I mean, you give the guy 1 season with a rookie quarterback and expect him to turn water into wine. That obviously didn't happen. With all that being said, though, I could still see Kingsbury being successful at the NFL level.
Well, I hope he is. I'm nothing against him personally, but I hope he is successful. But I just don't. I think it sounds like a dysfunctional move by the Cardinals.
I put a little bit of it on. Yeah, I put a little bit of it on Kingsbury for leaving a program less than a month after you've been there. That part I don't like. But when an NFL team calls, and you're like 2 weeks out of just getting fired, and they say, "Hey, we want you to be our coach." I mean, how do you turn that down?
And the NFL jobs, I don't know what they average, but I imagine they all make $5 to $6 million a year as a coach. So I mean. Me sitting here saying what a bad hire. I mean, give me $5 million, I'll go coach. I don't care if I'm going to win 16. Fire me next year. I'm good.
Just live off the interest.
That's right.
All right, guys. Our last love it or hate. It's kind of a funny one. So there is a high school basketball team, Dora High School, that was caught swapping out triplets at the free throw line in a basketball game. Love it or hate it.
Love it.
Right?
I guess I have to say hate it because you're just advocating cheating, but I love it. Richard Petty said one time, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's right. Absolutely. I love this. I don't condone trying to cheat, but again,
God, that's awesome.
It's in baseball too. Like, if you're not trying to cheat, then you're not trying hard enough. And I'm not sure, they may have even gotten away with it because the video, they had to go back and look at the video and realize that they'd swapped them out. So I'm assuming they all had to say.
How did they pull that off in the middle? They did it in the middle of like the free throw attempts?
They had on, this was done maliciously. They had on the same numbers. And they all look the same. And so I guess maybe they would shoot one and then, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where you don't pay attention to it when they're in between shooting free throws. I probably don't. And you probably don't even realize that somebody else has stepped up. Matter of fact, if they look the same, they probably could have walked up with different numbers and most people wouldn't have even noticed.
Wow.
That's just one of those things that doesn't catch your eye right off the top. So anyway, I thought that was pretty funny.
That's kind of funny.
Excuse me. Anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the Ross Rundown. We appreciate everybody for tuning in across all of the Richmond Observer platforms, which are, of course, free. And you know what else is free here in Richmond County? Playing disc golf.
Yeah.
And Russell and I head out to Henson Lake for the brand new disc golf. Of course, we've got a couple of discs here. And if you want to catch us playing the front nine, that video will be up on the RO Sports Facebook page, of course, YouTube as well, on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. So I'm going to show Russell a thing or two about disc golf, show him how to really play. So, of course, tune into that. And also, we're going to have a NASCAR special this week as well. Is that correct?
Oh,
Cool.
Yeah.
It's almost time.
Tomorrow night.
Yep, Ross Racing Show. So all that you can look forward to this week on the RO Sports Shows. Once again, for Russell Parker, Brandon Fault, I am Matt Harrelson. We'll see you right back here next week.